The Battle of the Monongahela, fought on July 9, 1755, was a significant early engagement of the French and Indian War, known in Europe as the 7 Years' War. It took place near present-day Braddock, Pennsylvania, along the banks of the Monongahela River. The battle is remembered as one of the most devastating defeats ever suffered by British forces in North America. At the time, the Ohio River Valley was a contested frontier. Both France and Britain claimed control over the region, which was also home to numerous Native American nations, including the Shawnee, Ottawa, and Delaware. The French had built a chain of forts to secure their claim, culminating in Fort Duquesne, located at the forks of the Ohio River, where the modern city of Pittsburgh now stands. To challenge French influence, Britain dispatched a force from Virginia under the command of Major General Edward Braddock, a seasoned officer of the British Army. His mission was to capture Fort Duquesne and secure the Ohio Valley for Britain. Braddock assembled a force of approximately 2,100 men. This included British regulars, soldiers from colonial militias, and civilian teamsters and engineers. Among his aides was a young George Washington, a 23-year-old Virginian who had already seen action in the Ohio Valley. The expedition was not simply a military column, it resembled a moving city. Braddock brought with him heavy artillery, supply wagons, livestock, and camp followers. The slow-moving army carved a road through the dense Pennsylvania wilderness, an undertaking that delayed progress and made the column vulnerable. Braddock's approach reflected the traditions of European warfare: rigid formations, brightly colored uniforms, and long lines of marching infantry. Yet in the forests of North America, these tactics would soon prove disastrous. At Fort Duquesne, the French commander, Captain Daniel Léonard de Beaujeu, prepared to defend the fort. His force was small, about 250 French regulars and Canadian militia, supported by 600 native warriors from allied nations. Though heavily outnumbered, they possessed the crucial advantage of terrain and tactics. Unlike the British, the French and their native allies were accustomed to ambush warfare in wooded terrain. They would use the thick forests, ravines, and riverbanks to conceal their movements, striking quickly and vanishing before the enemy could respond effectively. On the morning of July 9, 1755, Braddock's army crossed the Monongahela River in 2 divisions and continued its slow advance toward Fort Duquesne. The column stretched for miles through the wilderness. At approximately 2 o'clock in the afternoon, near a narrow defile 7 miles from the fort, the French and native force launched their attack. From concealed positions in the trees and ravines, they opened fire on the unsuspecting British. The effect was immediate and devastating. Musket fire echoed through the forest. British soldiers, trained to fight on open fields, were unable to see their attackers. Confusion spread as units tried to form ranks on the narrow road, only to be struck from all sides. The battle quickly descended into chaos. The dense smoke of gunpowder mingled with the cries of the wounded. Horses panicked, wagons overturned, and soldiers fired blindly into the trees. Attempts to maintain order failed as European discipline collapsed in the face of guerrilla-style fighting. Braddock himself rode along the lines, rallying his men with remarkable bravery, but the effort was in vain. Around him, British soldiers fell in staggering numbers. After several hours of fierce combat, Braddock was mortally wounded, struck by musket fire. Among the officers still standing was George Washington, who rode tirelessly to deliver orders and rally survivors. Though bullets tore through his coat and 2 horses were shot from under him, Washington remained unscathed. His leadership during the retreat would later enhance his reputation across the colonies. By late afternoon, the British force collapsed into a full retreat. Soldiers abandoned cannons, wagons, and supplies as they fled back across the Monongahela River. Of roughly 1,400 men engaged, the British lost 456 killed and over 400 wounded, more than half their force. In contrast, the French and their native allies suffered fewer than 50 dead and around 30 wounded. The scale of the defeat shocked the British Empire. It was a humiliating loss against a much smaller force, and it exposed the vulnerability of traditional European tactics in the forests of North America. General Braddock died from his wounds 4 days later, on July 13, 1755. He was buried in the wilderness, his grave concealed beneath the road his men had cut to prevent discovery by native warriors. The victory at the Monongahela secured French control over the Ohio Valley for several more years. It strengthened alliances between France and native nations, who saw in this triumph the weakness of British arms. For the British colonies, however, the battle was a sobering lesson. It highlighted the need for new strategies adapted to the American wilderness. For George Washington, the experience was formative. His survival and composure under fire would later contribute to his legendary status as commander of the Continental Army during the American Revolution. The Battle of the Monongahela remains a pivotal moment in early American history, a clash of empires, cultures, and tactics. It foreshadowed the larger struggle of the 7 Years' War, which would soon engulf the world. Today, the quiet woods of Pennsylvania bear little trace of the carnage of 1755, Yet the echoes of that summer day linger. The battle stands as a stark reminder of the cost of empire, the unpredictability of war, and the resilience of those who endured its fury. You've enjoyed this journey through history? Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of the battles, people, and turning points that shaped our world. Leave a comment to share your thoughts, and give this video a like to help others discover it too.